All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie with Dreamcatchers, and today we have Dr. Yunda Huang sharing with us today. So, Dr. Huang, can you give us a brief self-introduction?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to. Thanks for having me. I'm a senior scientist at Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center, and I'm also a professor at University of Washington in the Department of Global Health.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing with us today. So, can you tell me a little bit more about what it is specifically that you do?
Yes, I have a long title of what I do, but to put it simply, I primarily work on HIV vaccines, and recently we've always also been working on COVID vaccines. We evaluate these vaccine candidates to see whether or not they work.
Oh, okay, nice. And that seems, for a lot of high school students, it seems like a career path that's pretty foreign. So, how did you really get into it? What was your pathway?
Let me think about it. So, when I was your age in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do either. But I was pretty good at math. I was actually pretty good at writing, and I also liked art. So I didn't know what to do. But then one day I was exposed to someone who studied statistics. And so she explained to me what statistics is about, which is basically you have collect this data and you wanted to find patterns in the data you collect. And you wanted to interpret the data, the patterns you see in the data, right? So you need some kind of artistic mind to be able to disseminate the information in the data. And then you also need to tell people the story in the data.
Yeah.
So that comes in, about writing. So it's like, that sounds like a career path that kind of combines what I'm good at, math, writing, and art.
Okay.
At least something I'm interested in. So in college, then I chose to study statistics.
Oh, I see.
And then in grad school, I wanted to help people. So I kind of always had medical kind of study in my interest. My mom, she was a nurse, and she enjoyed what she does. She did. So I think I got some influence from her as well. So it's like I want to kind of do medical, but I didn't really want to be a surgeon, but I want to help people through medical research. So in grad school, then I learned about this new field, biostatistics, basically applying statistics in the medical field. So that's how I got into biostatistics, and with that, training, oftentimes you work in the medical field, like what I'm doing right now.
Oh, okay. So where did you go to school, and what was the campus life like?
Right. So for undergrad, I went to a college in China. So I studied statistics over there, and for grad school, I went to UCLA.
Oh, okay. And so, how did you really, past your inspiration, did you take any other internships, or did you get any other experience and more exposure that really helped you refine your pathway into getting into your career?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I wish I did. In high school, because I had my high school in China at the time, many years ago, there really wasn't any internship opportunities. And so that's why I kind of, by just happenstance, I learned about statistics. Nobody, so I consider myself very lucky that by chance I kind of found this career that I really enjoy and like. So definitely not in high school. And in college, we had some internship opportunities. I went to the college in Beijing, so lots of exposures. But a lot of it was not related to medical, more for economics and finance.
Oh, okay.
But that, in a sense, it's the concepts are very similar. So we did a lot of surveys, statistics in college, in my internship. for grad school, after I came to the States for grad school, there were more opportunities. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after UCLA, what steps did you do and how did you get from that point until where you are right now?
Right. So after I graduated from UCLA, during my grad school, I was also really interested in high dimensional data analysis because at the time, a lot of genomics information, just with the technology being so advanced, I just felt the need that in the future, all data will come in massive dimension, a lot of data. So I really need to learn how to deal with this type of data as a statistician. So my dissertation actually was on using microarrays, basically looking at this genomic information and looking at whether there's any genes turned on or off for cancer patients versus normal patients generally. And then you find these gene signals to see whether they trigger any treatment pathway choices, options for cancer patients.
Okay.
So I had this type of training. So after I graduated, I was looking for opportunities that I can sharpen my skills and experience in that area. So I went to the Salk Institute, which is, if you know about polio vaccine, that's kind of the founder, where the polio vaccine was discovered. I went there for about a 1 year postdoctoral training, also doing high dimensional data analysis. And then later, I always have this interest in biomedical field, right? So I had an opportunity at Hutchinson Cancer Center. And so that's how I, took that job from Cancer Center.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and I think a lot of students, whether it's high school or beyond high school, are wondering how do you really get these opportunities? Like, what kind of tips would you give for students, whether it's college or high school, who are looking to outreach into different opportunities? Like, what tips would you give them to help present themselves?
That's a good question. I think it has evolved. I do have internship, like high schooler interns working in my group with me, and people from college students and grad students as well. Usually, most of them, they would just kind of do the research online, find people who do things that they want to learn from. They just approach you. But this only limited amount of time. I usually won't be able to take whoever approach me to be intern, but I think that's the most direct way. You do a research. For example, you want to do neuroscience, right? You just see which institute has the best neuroscience research. You find the researcher you might want to learn from. Just approach them.
Okay.
That's one way. Yeah. The other way I would think sometimes there's a lot of platforms online. Like if you're really good at programming, coding, this GitHub and all these platforms, you can basically build your online resume over there in that community. And if you're really good, actually, that's one way. There was 1 year we approached a student, a grad student, because he was very active in that community, doing things in a very impressive way. So we approached him to say, "Oh, do you want to come for an internship?" Yeah, that happens too. So make yourself available, visible, and be taking initiative to approach people.
Okay. And from the first method that you mentioned, like when you're reaching out, what do you really look for when you see a bunch of emails from students and you go, this is one student I want? What do you really look for?
Definitely experience and the right type of training. Oftentimes, high school internship is short, so you don't want to spend the whole time teaching the high schooler what is, R, what is programming, what is data format, data frame. You want them to come at least with some understanding of the basic concepts. So I look at what kind of courses they take. And normally I would also see, because for us it's a lot of data programming, data analysis. So if the student has experience in Python or R, that's something that my group will be looking for. But of course, different internship opportunities will look for different experiences. For me, yeah, the programming language and the training, I would look, the student has taken AP statistics and then AP biology. That usually would be, a kind of a prerequisite.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what's the field right now in getting into data analysis? What recommendations or what do you have to say about the field in its current state and maybe what it would look like in 10 or 20 years?
Yeah, that's a really good question, which I don't have an answer. I'm still in the process of thinking. With all explosive of new technology and the ability that the servers and all these can process the amount of information, ChatGPT, all these new things. How do you interact? Kind of integrate human brain with computer, with AI, with the amount of information you have. It's hard. It's even as a data analyst, I think we're facing challenges as well. I think a lot of the routine work can be done by machines. You don't necessarily need a statistician, programming code. Something can be maybe automatically done. And so what is the future? What do we want to evolve this career to be? I still think, being a statistician, you do data analysis, but the understanding of the background of where the data come from is the key. So for me, I'm thinking in the future, maybe in 5 years, 10 years, we don't need to do programming anymore.
Okay.
But defining the problem is the key. Probably only human brain can do. So you have a bunch of data. Okay, you just bunch of data, and then what do you do with it? What kind of questions you can answer from it? You need to define it. I don't think that the machine can do whatever you tell the machine to do. But so you need to be the one come up with the idea. What is interesting? What is the question that you think will be influential or help cancer patients or help the treatment selection, whatever that question is. With the training of the experience in data analysis and the experience in the background knowledge, only the human brain can process.
I see.
Yeah, so maybe in 5 years, I don't need to do coding anymore. I just need to think and make comments. Yeah.
So is that one of the crucial skills you'd say is required to get into a field of work that you're in yourself?
Yes, I think so. I think this is how you kind of tear yourself apart. Because nowadays, if you want to do a specific task, it's so easy to do. You can, even before ChatGPT, you can Google and say, if I want to do this and that. There are a bunch of people can come give you answers and everything. So even without the formal training, you can do these things. So it's really about thinking the idea. The idea is the key.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what other skills would you say are required or smelled highly upon to get into a field of work that you're in right now?
Yeah, so the more I work in this field, I feel more the importance of communication. Because you can ask the machine to do things and build a model for you and do predictions for you, but then how do you explain the implications of the model? How do you explain the assumptions of behind these models, whether or not it's applicable to something that you are interested in. So, and oftentimes you need to explain this to an audience that probably has no knowledge in statistical models or in predictions. And so you need to find a common ground and a common language to communicate so that people trust what you did, right? And believe in the predictions you provide. So I think the communication is really, really key. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and also along your path, because you're very experienced in your path from going from a grad school until where you are now, what sort of challenges have you faced along the way, whether that be, personal in terms of like workload or challenges specific to your field?
Yeah, challenges. I think I faced this challenge. One challenge, one example, a lot of them. One example is that, especially during my grad school, and I encountered this as right now as well. For example, I pick up a new field, like you apply the same concepts analyzing data, like high dimensional data, which can come from different fields, can come e-commerce, from medical field, from agriculture, whatever field, and especially in biomedical field, just because the biomedical research technology evolves fast, including IT as well, and so almost like every year you have a new technology that generates this type of data. So you always at the kind of at the mercy of the pace of the technology advancement. You're always trying to catch up. Okay, now I just learned about this technology, Illumina microarray technology. That's how they do things. And then maybe in 6 months later, there's another technology that does things differently. And so the data come out, and the signal that this new technology can discover is different. So you need to learn the new technology as well to understand it, so that the data, the way you analyze the data makes sense, right? So I always feel like you kind of need to catch up with the technology. So you need to be in constant learning mode. It's challenging, but it's not a bad challenge. It's good. It just puts you kind of in the learning mode all the time. Which is good. Would you say you're more like optimistic about how fast things are developing, or a little more weary about it? Well, I'm not very happy about it. I say that the biomedical field technology progresses rapidly, but I just hope it can progress more rapidly. I always talk to my husband, like we talk about this because he's in the IT field, and I feel like the IT field has this new technology advancements faster than the biomedical field, because you see all these new the touch screen, and from GPS and now ChatGPT, for example, you have these kind of groundbreaking technologies in the IT field. For biomedical, still nowadays, there's just so many unsolved biomedical issues, and if you go into the lab, we're still doing the same thing. Like, if you want to see whether this drug works in this person or works for curing a certain disease, it takes 10, 15 years to get an answer for that question. Because what you need to do, you cannot make a synthetic human body. And the human body is so complex. So the only way that you can test whether a drug, a medicine works in people, you have to test it in humans. And there's a lot of regulation on safety, and because there's just so much unknown, right? And every step so safety, it takes 5 years to test whether this drug is even safe being used in human, and another 10 years to see whether this drug even works in humans. So I just feel like it's so slow. So if someone can build like a synthetic human body, but without, the human attachment, so you can test in the human body, like in a more rapid way. That'd be great. But right now we still have to go baby steps.
Yeah. So regulation's still one of the big like red tapes on getting anything done.
Yeah, because you're dealing with a human being like you, Yeah, so you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Everything, yeah. You can test in animal models but they don't always translate to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I personally know a lot of people who are interested in the biomedical field at the high school and also older ages. So what kind of advice would you give for students at both ages and different stages of their life? They're trying to get into the biomedical field as well as into data analysis because it's a cross section of multiple different fields. So what kind of general advice do you have?
If I talk to anyone, if I want to persuade that person choose a career, I always want that person choose biomedical field. Because as I said, I just feel like every day, no matter how hard I work, there's still, and so many other people like me and smarter than me that working in this medical field, but still there's so many unsolved medical questions. So I would advise, if someone is interested, even have slight interest in biomedical field, have a genuine interest in how things work. For me, I think if I were able to kind of go back like 20 years, I think have a stronger training in math and biology and writing, and including speaking as well, and programming. I didn't learn programming until I was in grad school, so it was a little difficult for me to kind of catch up at the beginning. But if a lot of high schoolers, including yourself, I know, start learning programming, I think that's a useful tool that you in your toolbox. You don't have to always be a software engineer or programming all the time, but I think knowing how to program it's probably a necessity in the future, because it's a tool like a speaking language. You can program, it's a type of language as well. So programming, math, biology, and a passion, just intrinsic interest in knowing how things work and to help people, I think that will really make you walk far.
Okay, well, thank you for your sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Thanks for the opportunity. I've always been very impressed by the students from Interlake, and best wishes to everyone.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your sharing today.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.